Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont, and this is my review of Borderlands 3. This isn't a sponsored review, by the way. I bought the game myself because I like co-op games. And I've played the other Borderlands, so that out the way, let's get things started. What is Borderlands? A 4-player, first-person, looter-shooter. You could say it's like a first-person Diablo game. You move through large, open areas, and then also smaller dungeons. You can use vehicles, you have different classes, and all of this is for the goal of crushing enemies so they explode into dozens of guns for you to use. The quick version of this review? Well, if you've played Borderlands 1 or Borderlands 2, this is more of the same. If you liked those, you'll like this. If you didn't like those, well, has the third game done anything that might win you over? Not really. The main difference between the first two games, if you ask me, is that the second became quite a bit more wacky. It tried to focus more on jokes and comedy and references and all that, whereas the first game was slightly more serious. Another difference is that the first game's guns just felt better. I don't know what it was, but something about the feedback and the sound of the weapons in the first game was just better than the second. Something very similar happened with the Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, odd that. But on the story and comedy and the writing, Borderlands 3 is a lot more like the second game. You're introduced to the wacky and over-the-top villains early on who go out of their way to be obnoxious and irritating. Whereas 2's villain was Handsome Jack, the asshole CEO of a giant megacorp, this time you're fighting against, well, effectively Twitch streamers who sign off with things like, comment, and obey. If nothing else, it's an effective way to make the player dislike them. And yes, there's still tons and tons and tons of references, in-jokes and so on. And yet, strangely, for a game that focuses so much on comedy, there aren't many original jokes. Most of it is very lowbrow reference humour. But hey, if you've played 2, you know what to expect. If you didn't like it, that hasn't changed. Personally, I don't really find many of the things funny in Borderlands. A lot of it is what I suppose I would call cringy humour. Although there was at least one mission which I did find entertaining, involving an AI being in a stuffed bear. That one at least appealed to me. And this isn't because I have a very highbrow sense of humour. Some of my favourite videos are You're a Wizard, Harry, I'm the Juggernaut, and the Fesh Pints videos. It's just Borderlands' very specific sort of reference humour doesn't often do it for me. The guns, however, feel very good to use in this third game, more akin to the first game. And the different brand of guns having their own traits and characteristics remains from 2, but it's been tweaked. For example, my favourite brand of gun in 2, Vladov, their new thing in 3 is switching between a gun's primary function and its underbarrel. For example, an assault rifle with a shotgun underbarrel or a grenade launcher. Atlas guns make a return from the first game, and their gimmick now is that they fire homing smart bullets. You tag an enemy, and then all of your bullets will home through the air onto it. You can get some Eternal Circus looking moments, which is kinda cool. Jacob's weapons remain largely the same. Maliwan is still elemental, but now a lot of them have an emphasis on charging up, and I don't like it. But if you're wondering, my favourite guns in the third game are the Dahl weapons, because they have the highest accuracy and handling sort of stuff. And my favourite sort of guns in games are semi-auto, highly accurate. And there are a lot of guns in Borderlands 3, lots of legendaries for you to collect, and overall, yes, it is fun to find a new gun and see what it does. That hasn't changed. But what are guns without hands to wield them? Gun turrets maybe? I don't know. But my point being that the 4 new Vault Hunters of Borderlands 3 have been powered up somewhat. Whereas in the past, our player character had only 1 action skill to use, each character now has 3. Amara is the new Siren, and she can phase lock enemies, slam them with her energy fists, or shoot out a Kamehameha. Now she can only equip 1 of these at a time, but she can swap between them relatively easily. Flak is the pet class, so to speak. He can summon a dog-like Skag, monkey-like Jabba with its own gun, or an Antish thing. As for his 3 abilities, well, Flak can teleport his pet, he can go invisible, or he can summon some flying angry rat creatures. Then there's Mose, who summons a mech that she can walk around in. Instead of different abilities, she can equip 2 different guns to the left and right arm of her mech, a railgun, grenade launcher, or minigun. And you can augment these abilities to modify them. You can change the minigun into a flamethrower, I think. You can change the grenade launcher into a missile launcher. You get the idea. And finally, we have Zane, the character I played in my first playthrough. He's equipped with a deployable barrier shield, a flying drone turret, and a digiclone that he can swap locations with that will also shoot enemies. Unlike the others, Zane can equip 2 of these skills at once, but if you equip the second one, you lose the ability to throw grenades. Additionally, as I briefly mentioned, you can now equip augments to your action skills that change how they work, such as turning Zane's barrier shield into a dome. The talent trees have been improved, but they still suffer from a lack of impact. What I mean by that is, a lot of the talents are still things like increase your damage by 1%. These talents are boring in my opinion, because they aren't something you will notice. If you're doing 100 damage, and then the next time you shoot you do 101 damage, that isn't an impactful talent. However, I said it's been improved, and it has. There are a lot more abilities now, besides the sort of 31 point talents that actively have an impact that you will notice. These 1 point sort of talents, you might call them, that's good. It isn't perfect, but we're getting there. And each talent tree is quite different from each other, mostly because of how they affect their own action skills this time. They've definitely made some big improvements there, but there's still a lot more improvements that they could make. And of course, you can customize your character with different hats and skins, which can now be color edited as well, which is a really nice change. You can equip cosmetic trinkets to your guns, which, you know, they don't do anything. They just look nice, I guess. And you can also apply skins to your guns that will change, well, their colors. There's even emotes, for some reason. All in all, it's more of the same with nice changes and additions here and there. It took a while, but we're finally off Pandora too. You'll visit several other planets in Borderlands 3, and thankfully, the horrible, constant low gravity and oxygen management from the pre-sequel isn't really here. Honestly, most of my issues with Borderlands as a series have been the boring talent trees, which are in the best state they've been, but still not perfect, and the writing. The series has suffered from poor writing and that's never changed. There are so many examples of characters withholding information or just being downright stupid, because we can't let the player know this important plot detail until the big reveal, even though it makes absolutely zero sense within the universe for that information to be withheld. The characters never have a reason to withhold that information beyond we can't let the player know this big twist. And I think it's a very bizarre design choice to make a 4-player focused game and then have so much dialogue. NPCs are chattering so damn much in Borderlands 3, you're probably gonna miss a lot of it because you'll be playing with 4 friends and you'll be talking with them in voice chat. And it's not like this dialogue always happens in downtime either. A lot of the time it's going on whilst you're fighting. And I don't know if I want to play through this game solo just to focus on dialogue. And that's another thing. This game has a bad habit of letting you listen to things rather than showing you things. For example, a lot of things happen in these echo logs, these recordings you find, and I know that's not a Borderlands thing, it's in so many video games now, but I don't like it. I don't like hearing about events on the radio when I could be seeing these events. Now, of course, sometimes it's fair. If you're listening to something that happened 100 years ago, sure, you don't need to make a flashback for it if there isn't a good in-universe reason for it to happen. But when there are things that could have definitely happened as we are there, and instead you just take the lazy option and just give us an audio log, I don't like that. And I think Borderlands 3 relies too heavily on audio logs and also just a general disconnect. A lot of the time, a cutscene will happen and it's like, is my character seeing this? Or am I just somewhere else not seeing it? And then sometimes your character is in the cutscene, but they're not saying anything. And I don't like that. It feels there's just a disconnect there. Overall though, I'm enjoying Borderlands 3. The guns feel good. The pacing has been fine so far, although at There are 2 points where it slightly started to drag, usually when it's like, oh, go and get us the vault key bits, and it's like, oh, I have to go over here now and then over there, and sometimes the story feels like it's dragging a little bit with filler, but mostly it's been fine and better than the first 2 games. And it looks like they're planning to support the game with DLC as they did the last 2, which, well, they had some good DLCs and hopefully they continue that trend. Performance has been decent, but sometimes, for example, I have a gun that shoots out icy snowball thingies, and if I start using that, it's gonna tank my frame rate by like 20 FPS. And performance on the consoles has been atrocious, and I wasn't pleased that the game is an Epic Store exclusive. Now, I don't have anything in particular against the Epic Store. Maybe, as a new platform, I have my security concerns because I know a lot of people are getting their Epic stores, if not hacked, they're having their Epic accounts trying to be hacked constantly by like Russians or whatever, and I have my concerns there, but my only real annoyance with the Epic launcher is that I don't like needing 20 million launchers on my PC, Maybe that's why I need to get this GOG Galaxy thing so I can just have all my games in one place, because it's a nuisance and I forget what I've got installed, but whatever. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I hope this review was useful or entertaining. Can I recommend Borderlands 3? Well, if you have friends to play it with, yes. But until next time, you guys take care. Ciao.
What is happening? Oh, there's blood now.